Everyone. I am so excited and so honored to have Kelly Noonan Gores today as our guest. Kelly is the writer, director, and producer of Heal, a documentary feature about the mind-body connection and our body's innate ability to heal. A Los Angeles native, she grew up in front of the camera, acting on and off from the age of 7. Our child star here today. She's appeared in over 50 TV commercials, a lot of different films, TV shows. You probably saw her in Bones or CSI New York. And in 2012, she started Elevative Entertainment with the intentions to create conscious media that informs, inspires, and empowers. Kelly is a seeker, a meditator, and enjoys traveling, sports, reading, and writing. Kelly, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure. Now, your Heal documentary, which I had the honor and privilege of watching in the theater, I was so excited. It not only taps into the brilliant minds of scientists, spiritual teachers, but I love that it actually followed 3 individual patients on their journey to healing. And it made the movie very personal, very relatable for someone like myself who had 2 health crises. I had colon cancer at 35 and then a much worse health crisis at 45. And it really did a great job of sharing how healing is very complex, it's very personal, and it's not as simple as taking pills. There is so much more involved. Share a little bit about why did you embark on this journey to begin with?
So it's a great question. Like I said, I've always been a seeker. I've always been very curious about how things work, how the universe works. I've always been fascinated by religion, and it occurred to me at a very young age that the basis, the universal principles at the foundation of all religions, were the same. They just had different cultural clothing on. So I just was attracted to getting to that universal truth. And I think, in my late 20s, I just started stumbling upon different teachers like Wayne Dyer and,
Oh, wow. Okay.
I saw the movie The Secret, and
Yeah.
it just opened my eyes to the fact, that we're not victims of life, that we can, Eckhart Tolle,
Yes.
we can choose to view life in a different way and respond rather than react, and co-create rather than be a victim. So, different books led me to different places. I started going to Agape with Reverend Michael Beckwith in my late 20s, early 30s, and then read the book Biology of Belief by Bruce Lipton.
Yes.
And I was like, oh my gosh, we're not victims of our genes. Everybody needs to know this, our lifestyle choices, our thoughts, our beliefs about life, our belief in what's possible really dictates kind of our physical reality. So I don't know, it just became this passion of mine to empower people, because I had been so empowered and my life, was changing in such positive ways. And people would come to me and start asking me like, what, how are you so seemingly healthy? Or how are you manifesting all these great things in your life, And so film is the medium I grew up in, as I grew up in the entertainment industry. So I felt that I wanted to make a film that just kind of gave this, again, universal lesson that we have this innate ability to heal, and we have kind of more power over our lives and our health and our circumstances than we kind of have been conditioned to believe. So it just, one thing led to another. And also, like, I took, I think at one point in my, I was running like I was running marathons but I wasn't really aware of diet. I mean, I knew that, in high school I ate so much fast food, but I was an athlete in 3 different sports. So it didn't really stick, it wasn't, I burned it off quick enough that, didn't leave any lasting damage, thank God.
Yeah.
But, in my 20s, as I became a little less active, like, I'm eating frozen yogurt and drinking keep red wine, and like all of these things kind of made me a little acidic. I had a busy life. So I'd come home and eat cereal for dinner.
That's
I
right.
wasn't aware, of the physical effects. So I went to a doctor, I went to a gastroenterologist and then a general practitioner. And he handed me like Prilosec for
Oh
my
my
acid
God.
reflux. I was 28 years old. I'm like,
Woo!
this is like an old people pill, right?
Yeah.
So I just wasn't aware until I took this, I enrolled in the Institute of Integrative Nutrition for a year program. And then
Wow.
I learned so much that was, again, so empowering. And I consider myself an intelligent person. I went to Berkeley and UCLA, but I just didn't know until you're aware of, so that was kind of how I viewed the whole health and wellness thing. So many more people were getting sick. Cancer was becoming so common, which was just mind blowing to me.
Mhm.
And so I was like, people just aren't aware.
Yes.
The system makes us victims,
Yes.
and, we feel like we're victims of our genes or whatever. And a pill is the only way that's going to fix our genes or our chemistry. So again, it inspired me. I want to make this film to empower people to take control of their health back.
I love it. So your movie does a brilliant job of sharing the truth about health. And so in your case, as you made this movie, what were some of the key insights that you learned, even though you clearly are so well read and such an old soul for someone who started in the entertainment industry at 7, such an old soul. Were there some key insights that you said, wow, I didn't know this?
A lot of the teachers that I put in the film, I had been studying for a while. So their message was kind of ingrained, but, there were a couple, of ahas, but one of the biggest ones is, these subconscious beliefs, the subconscious programming that we kind of take on from the ages of 0 to 7.
Yeah.
We're just even in utero, so we're just soaking up vibrationally, and, we're soaking up kind of the energetic patterns and the belief systems of those we're surrounded by. And without, but they're downloaded programs. So they're subconscious, it's just like, it's the hardware that the computer is running on.
Yes.
So, unbeknownst to us, our whole life, we are reacting to life and responding to life based on these programs that we're not even aware of are kind of running our emotional show, and so to really, and then you've come to realize that those programs are not yours. They're downloaded from other people. So the goal is to then become aware, start to observe where you're getting triggered, what beliefs you may have, whether it's I'm not good enough,
Right.
I don't deserve this, that's impossible to dream that big, it's never going to happen, whatever these beliefs that you adopted from other people, become aware of them, because a lot of them are negative and disempowering and limiting. Become aware of them, and then really ask yourself, what do you want to believe? Is, what's the empowering version of that belief? And start to reprogram yourself and take control of your belief system. So, I think, to me, to heal on that subconscious level, to heal the programming at the level of belief. I mean, belief is truly everything, it's what you believe about life. It's what you believe is possible. That what you believe about the condition that you have, that is going to determine kind of your reality.
Very true. What did you learn about how can you change beliefs easily? Because changing belief is near to impossible, right? Any kind of a belief, it's just near to impossible. I know, because I've tried it. And again, a great example, when I was really sick, one of my symptoms was I was hive out everywhere. And so when people would say, well, change your belief, see no hives, I was like, are you kidding me? I'm looking in the mirror. Right. I am looking at them. How do you expect me to not see them? So what did you learn from these amazing folks that have surrounded you, these enlightened beings? What is one way that actually works in changing your beliefs? And have you been able to do that in your own case?
To me, that, the best way is to find, the basic belief is a belief about life, your spiritual belief. I mean, this is where you're healing spiritually. So,
Mm.
whether it's finding a spiritual home that, or spiritual teacher that can help you get to the belief where you really believe, whether you call it the universe, whether you call it God, if you can get to a spiritual faith that the universe is for you and never against you, it always has your back, and it's always pushing you on a trajectory for your highest good and your greatest growth. If you can have that core belief, then it's easier to believe, like, okay, I am worth it. The universe wants me to blossom. It, within every desire, within every dream is the seed and the ability to manifest that dream or desire. So when you get to those spiritual beliefs, or, that God is loving, it's not judgmental, punishing God. If you can get to the where our source is pure love, and nobody, so that is going to help you be less judgmental towards yourself and towards others. It's going to help you realize, like, okay, see things in life, this is a challenge coming my way. Okay, rather than go, oh, woe is me, this is a really terrible situation, and oh, I wish life was a different way. You can have that emotion. It's human, right? But then sit back, take a breath, and go, okay, I have to trust in a loving God or a supportive universe, and surrender and go, okay, this is something good will come of this. Or, maybe this, where one door shuts, another door opens. Maybe maybe there's a better relationship out there for me to get, so it's a spiritual question. Once you get that core belief down, the others are more easily changed.
That's very profound. It really does start with your core spiritual belief, doesn't it? And what's been your experience with meditation since you are a meditator?
I believe meditation and mindfulness, and teaching kids at a young age mindfulness and meditation, and how to shut off the stimulus of the outside world and the judgment and the illusion of separation from everybody else, and turn inward. As we practice that, and as we quiet the mind, we turn inward and we breathe. I mean, that deepens our spiritual connection without, ways to articulate it, So I believe teaching kids mindfulness and meditation at a very young age will kind of set the tone without, us really having to explain. Like, it kind of handles itself, if that makes sense.
It does.
Because it lowers their stress. It's going to lower their reactiveness to life. It's going to, dissipate triggers. It's going to, create space so they can kind of become aware more quickly of, beliefs that aren't serving them, perhaps, or it's going to make them react and see people in a more compassionate way, because they have the space to process life. When we're overwhelmed and inundated with so much information, and I can't even imagine the pressures that kids are under with social media these days.
Awful.
It's awful. I mean, I know how fragile I was as an adolescent, and I was fairly, like, from the outside, you'd think I was very confident and popular or whatever, but inside, hormonally, and just,
that's right,
you're feeling your way, into this new kind of transforming body and all this stuff. So to give people that tool to process life and the space to process life, that's where we can transform generations, and I think meditation is kind of like a way to start, a way to teach, rather than teaching them, verbally by the concept. It's like that practice sets the tone for an entire new generation.
How often do you meditate?
I meditate every day. And if for some reason it's a crazy day, like I've had in the past couple of days, I may skip it, but I'm not going to beat myself up. I'm just aware, like, oh, okay, I should have taken 5 minutes, and even if it's 5 minutes, but, once it's a little less chaotic, which is, normally it's busy, but it's not chaotic. It's been a little chaotic. I'll do it for sure once a day, if not twice a day.
Oh,
I
nice.
learned I learned transcendental meditation, which
Oh,
is
okay.
twice a day, 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes in the afternoon.
Yes.
But I do so many different kinds of meditation now that it's just like whatever feels right in the moment, whatever I can handle, the time, doesn't really matter. I just know I need to calm the mind, calm my breath, and it's like hitting the reset button.
I love it too. I love it too. Let's talk about the movie. So it was a long journey for you, as I understand. What about 2 years?
Yep, 2 years from the day we started filming to the day we released on iTunes.
It really is a huge accomplishment. Is this your first documentary?
It is my first documentary. It's the
Oh,
first film I've directed. Yeah.
that's a huge accomplishment. Brilliantly directed, by the way.
Thank
Extremely well done. So let's talk about the characters in the movie. Let's talk about the experts first.
Okay.
So you had amazing folks like Deepak Chopra. Share with those of our audience who've not seen the movie some of the great people that are in the movie and what stood out for you in terms of what they shared.
Yeah. So Deepak Chopra, as you mentioned, Dr. Bruce Lipton, Dr. Joe Dispenza, Greg Braden, Marianne Williamson, so many wonderful people, Joan Borisenko. I had a blend of kind of spiritual teachers and scientists because I want, I like I like the balance, and I wanted to appeal to the widest audience, so if it's too woo woo, the science base, they're gonna reject it right away. So but yeah, I mean, it was such an honor, and it was so fascinating. The medical medium, Anthony William.
Oh, I loved him.
Love him. Dr. Kelly Turner, Dr. Kelly Brogan, really amazing women. And so yeah, just to sit and talk and just like pick their brains, and it was fascinating. A lot of them have been speaking and teaching for 20, 30 years. So they're just living the message, they just, so I found that all of them really, they're so passionate about what they do that they don't need to stress or prepare. They just show up and they're just so present, and they're like, let's talk, So it was really a beautiful, easy process.
Not a lot of retakes.
No, everybody just has their message is so clear to them. They've been teaching for so long that it just kind of really flowed. It was very cool.
If there's one of them that you'd want to pick and share their message, who would that be, and what would that message be?
Oh, Lord, one of them. They're all so good.
But is there one that you felt like more people need to hear this message?
I mean, let me think. Specifically for cancer, I feel like everybody needs to read Kelly Turner's book, Radical Remission.
Yes.
Based in research, one of everybody's favorite moments in the film is the 9 essentials that she found for, so she studied, over 1,000 cases, 1,500 cases of people with late stage, stage 4 cancer, people that were sent home to basically die because their doctors said, there's nothing else we can do. She studied, and all of them spontaneously healed. They all went into remission after they had been sent home to die. So she studied what they did. She found 75 different things that they tried or they did to lead to their spontaneous remission. Mm-hmm. But the fascinating thing is she found 9 things that every single one of them did, all 1,500. So to me, it's crucial for everybody to read her book and read her research because it's inspiring. It gives people hope. Like even when you're sent home to die, there is always hope. And do these 9 things, but I think personally, it applies to any condition. I think it applies to how to heal the human body, so I love Kelly Turner's message. I think Dr. Joe Dispenza, he goes around the world. He's leading, these meditation retreats. He's measuring people's heart and brain waves, during meditation. So he's got the science, but he's bringing these people through these deep meditations and having them combining it with visualization of their end result. So again, like when you had hives, just believe that you don't have hives. Well, no, he takes you through a process where you quiet the mind, you get centered, you bring your heart and brain into coherence, and then you start to visualize what it would be like to be healthy, whether it's, running on the beach or, eating with your girlfriends or laughing, or, whatever it is, the opposite of what you're feeling in that moment if you're ill, and feeling those feelings, and to set the tone with meditation, and then to use your imagination in such a powerfully creative way. I just love, he talks about miraculous kind of transformations that happen at his retreats because of this process. And that's something tangible. That's a healing process you can walk people through. And so I love that. I mean, if I had something going on, I would definitely go to one of his retreats,
Absolutely. It's so interesting you shared about Kelly Turner, because in the movie, that was the one time that I pulled out my phone, took a picture, and instantly shared it on the WhatsApp group for my Heal Circle.
Yes.
Because that was the one moment when she pulls the chart up and then she highlights, like, these are the ones. And you look at the 7 of the 9 are all emotional.
Mm-hmm.
And I had chills, because to me, the way I healed, it took 15 months, but the way I healed again was at some point I tipped because I changed those beliefs. And so it was validation that I wasn't thinking I'd gone crazy or nuts, that it really does work, that there are dots that get connected somehow. But you are so right. I think anyone who's struggling with anything in health must watch your documentary, and then must pick up Kelly Turner's book, because
those 9 essentials, as you said, it gave you chills. That is such a profound moment. And I feel like those 9 essentials are the metaphor to what the film is about. Out of those 9 things that every single person did to spontaneously heal when they were told there was no hope, only 2 of them were physical, which is radically changing your diet and using herbs and supplements. And the other 7 are mental, emotional, and spiritual. And unfortunately, our medical system is, 9 things are physical and 1 thing is mental, emotional. And that is why we have a sick care system instead of a wellness system. So we need to really give scientific cred to the fact that 7 out of 9, you have to heal on the mental, emotional, and spiritual level, as well as the physical. In fact, the physical is maybe the least part of it.
That's exactly it. What kind of response have you heard from doctors or the medical system, if any?
Yeah, I mean, I had a screening 2 nights ago at a friend's house, and there was a plastic surgeon there. There was all women, and there was, a fertility doctor. There was a lot of MDs there. And, they were just like, they were so open to it, because doctors are trained in such a high pressure environment. And this is, that's why I love Kelly Brogan in the film. She's a psychiatrist. She was like a high stress, coffee and sugar pumping psychiatrist that would just dole out medication, antidepressants, to all her patients for many years. And even when they were like, pregnant women, she had a pause and she was like, oh, I don't know if I'd want to take this medication if I was pregnant, but here you go, you're depressed. Yada, yada, yada. She shares a story. But then she got pregnant, and she was like, oh, then she started having a little bit of a conscience, but she still gave the prescription out because that's what she was taught. And she says in the movie, she's like, I was never taught in medical school that nutrition has anything to do with health. And then after she had the baby, postpartum, she got diagnosed with Hashimoto's thyroiditis, which is very common these days, especially among women. And she woke up and she's like, wait a second, I'm not going to take a pill for the rest of my life. This is, so she started, because of her own wake-up call, she started digging into the literature, and just like House of Cards fell away. And she was just like, holy, I've been sold a bag of goods. So medical schools are teaching us, they're not teaching us, we need to switch the curriculum to account for nutrition, lifestyle, emotions, beliefs. And eventually, I hope my film does that, for the doctors that are already out there, just to kind of give them pause and go, oh, the way I relate to my patients actually affects their results,
Right.
So Yeah, so medical institute, unfortunately, a lot of medical institutions are now being kind of funded by pharmaceutical companies.
Correct.
So that's a problem. And, so again, just my intention with the film was just to empower the individual. The more people that take control of their health back, start asking the doctors the tough questions, start seeking out more, functional integrative doctors, then, the demand will kind of dictate the supply, and hopefully everything will change. So that's, we can only all do our little part.
Yeah. Let's talk about the patients in the film. How did you pick them?
So I was pretty ambitious when I set out. I wanted to follow someone with cancer. I wanted to follow a child, most likely with autism, because again, that's running rampant these days.
Mm-hmm.
And then I wanted to do a mental health issue like PTSD or, PTSD, anxiety, depression kind of thing. So I kind of had it in my mind. I wanted to find a veteran that was healing with alternative, hypnotherapy, meditation, all of that. But I had a small timeline, because we had a very small budget, and, I just had to fit it. I could only work on this project for so long, so because of other things. So, again, once you align with your purpose and it's amazing how like the flow happens, and there just became this energy behind the film. So within like a month of setting that intention of like, okay, I got to follow these people and I got to find them and follow them. And within a year, we got to be done filming, just crazy. We synced up to a woman through a mutual friend who was in the film, Deanne, and she had filmed a year prior, her working with a woman with stage 4 cancer.
Oh, wow.
And so she had already documented what I was planning to document.
Okay.
So we just kind of like folded her footage into our project.
Oh, wow.
And she was thrilled because she didn't really know what to do with it.
Right.
So, that was kind of a fast track, which is beautiful. Then we found there was a boy. I think the mother contacted us somehow, and she, maybe because we were searching and just, people talk. And she wrote a book, Healing Without Hurting. And she was helping her son through, the autism spectrum, with foods, and minerals and with a naturopath, with different things like brain balance. So again, they had diagnosed he was going to be on pills the rest of his life. And she said, no, my son is going to have the best chance. So she started learning about heavy metal toxicity and all these other things. So antibiotics that she had taken after multiple surgeries, we filmed him, and then we were kind of struggling finding this veteran that I wanted to follow. And then just happened, like you find out in the movie, I just happened to connect with this woman in my husband's office who had been struggling with this mystery illness, unbeknownst to everybody.
That broke my heart.
I know.
Because I could relate to her, because that was me, right? Hives, rashes, people could not. That was one of my 25 symptoms. But my really heart went out to her, especially since she was the one person who didn't heal in the movie.
I know. And, we had to I didn't want it to be a Hollywood ending. I wanted it to be real and show the real struggles, because it's easy for me to say like, oh, you can heal from anything. And, the body is capable of healing. But when people are actually going through it and they have family dynamics and financial dynamics, and subconscious belief dynamics, like it's easier said than done. So as you very well know. It was, again, in that space where I just was trusting what came across my path. And then I just went with it if it felt right. None of the veterans that we kind of connected with felt right. So that didn't land in a place. She landed in kind of our lap, and we just went with it. And it was a beautiful kind of complicated story.
It was. She was definitely one that stayed with me. Mm-hmm. And I actually did a little prayer for her. I hope she figures out what her formula is. Cause I think that each one of us has our own formula for healing, depending on, where we're least lacking or most wanting, or wherever that might be.
Mm-hmm.
I call it the leaky spot. Wherever our leaky spot is, you got to figure out what that leaky spot is, and then you got to figure out the formula to fill it.
Exactly.
So you can get your body back in balance. And so, have you kept in touch with any of them?
Yeah, all of them. Elizabeth is doing great. Still, she's
Wonderful.
yeah, she's still cancer
Wonderful.
free. Spoiler alert. Um, if you haven't seen the film. And then Eva is still on her healing journey, but she's trying so much. She actually took a medical leave from work. So she's really creating that space that healing is possible. And so she, again, like you said, everyone's kind of journey is different, but she's for sure moving in the right direction and having, mini breakthroughs and awakening. So I'm excited for her. And like you said, I keep gently like sending her people, but at the same time, you don't want to overwhelm. There's so much information out there and there's so many different types of things. So I really encourage people just to really feel what resonates. If someone's pushing you in some direction and you're like, it just doesn't feel right. Like, trust that your body knows what it needs,
And that's what meditation does. I think it brings you really close to trusting yourself and to listening to yourself. And that I agree. I think that's one of the core steps that has to happen if you want to truly heal fast, is start listening to your body first, mm-hmm. before you listen to the 50 million points of view and perspectives outside of you, because your body does know. What's next for Kelly?
Next for me, I'm actually writing the Heal book, much like,
lovely.
Just a lot of people like a tangible kind of manual, and there is the film is so dense with information, as you've seen. Yes. It was hard. I mean, so much was left out of the film that was good, but again, it's just our challenge was to kind of weave together a lesson that was palatable for all types of people, whether it's a reminder for people like you and I that have been studying this for a while now, or just someone that's brand new to this kind of way of thinking. I wanted it to be digestible, but it is a lot. So having a book, people can just go to that chapter and review over and over again, highlight whatever they need, as they need it. So, and then I can fill in a little bit that was either left out of the film or a little more of my story. So that's in the next few months, working on that.
Wonderful.
And we're also in the middle of editing the full-length interviews of the experts, because we have 18 hours of interview footage. And as only a few minutes of each expert got into the film, because there's human interest stories and all of that. So Hay House is actually releasing the full-length interviews at an online summit this summer. So we're editing those right now.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. Is there another documentary perhaps in the future?
Perhaps. I'm sure there will be. Yeah.
You want to repeat, or you think it was one of those, it was on my bucket list, I wanted to make a documentary and now it's done?
I love documentaries, and I love, right now I feel like we're still just kind of finishing the Heal, one or whatever. But now that, and again, it was such a learning process as I went along. So I might need a few months of recovery from the mind expansion I went through. But but yes, I mean, it's a passion of mine. I loved the process, and so I'm sure there will be another one in the future.
Oh, fantastic. That's wonderful to hear. You've been amazing, Kelly. Thank you so much. And any last words of advice or wisdom or insight for our listeners before we wrap up?
I really believe in that, law of vibration. It's like the frequency that we're putting out, the intention we're putting out into the world, you're going to align with the right people. So if, regardless of your economic level in this moment, when you set that intention to get help, when you set that intention to heal, the right book will hit you in the head, you'll sit next to the right person on the subway, that will lead you to the right doctor or healer. I just find that when you believe that, when you set that intention, you will align and attract exactly what you need at your level of being able to afford it. But also, I haven't always had money, but since I've been doing this work, I've been able to manifest more things and kind of the life and the abundance that I desired, because my tool, I actually, people have their judgments about The Secret, but I watched The Secret and I really resonated with the gratitude journal.
Mm.
So I started, gratitude, I feel like is the most powerful creative force on the planet. So, love is very powerful and love is our source, but gratitude is like, that is the biggest attractor, So,
And it's the vibration. I think gratitude is powerful because of the vibration it creates in you.
Exactly. It's like when you are grateful for what you have, God gives you more, it's in the Bible, it's in, so, I would write, and I do a combination now, but I write down, Bob Proctor talks about in The Secret, you write down, I am so happy and grateful now that I have something that you want, and I used to write down, I love massages. I go to a chiropractor, but at the time I couldn't afford to go as often as I wanted to. So I'd write down, I'm so happy and grateful now that I can get a massage twice a week and go to the chiropractor once a week,
Mm.
I probably should have been grateful for my back to be perfect so I didn't have to go to the chiropractor. Wasn't there yet. So anyways, and then, same with relationships, same with the person you want to be with, that you write down the qualities. And you start to observe in your life, if there's something that you don't like going on in your life, you go, okay, well, what's pivot? What's the opposite of that? So then you start to write that down. I'm so happy and grateful now that I'm with a man who adores me and who enjoys camping and enjoys, whatever it is that you enjoy. And I started doing that. And just I saw the results in my life, and now I feel so grateful for, all the abundance and all the wonderful people in my life that I do kind of a combination. So of course I still have desires. So I'll write things that I'm grateful for every day, just because again, it raises your vibration.
Yeah.
And it's so good to not take things for granted, especially just my health, that's our baseline of enjoyment of life. So I write down all the things I'm grateful for, and then I mix in a little, fantasies that I have or dreams that I have or things that I want to accomplish. Mix it in, and then I feel like I'm kind of like tricking the universe. Like maybe they don't know which one I have or I don't have, It's fun, and it's, again, just that baseline of just being grateful. It's such a powerful vibration to be in, and then you attract more and more.
Oh, I love it. I love it. You are a living embodiment of everything that you talk about in The Heal and the movie that you've made. Thank you, Kelly. You're awesome. And I'm really looking forward to reading the book.
Thank you. Thank you. You are a living embodiment, 2 tremendous diagnoses that you turned around, and now you're spreading your message and helping other people heal. It's wonderful. So thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.